Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Joshua and I'm going to be your presenter. Welcome to everyone. Well, my computer's about a few seconds behind here, so it's noon Eastern time. We're going to go ahead and get started. We're here to talk about Church Windows accounting, adding, deleting, editing accounts. Our topic today is taken from our A102 workbook, pages 15 to 22. If you don't have those workbooks, you can, of course, find those at our website here under our beginning menu at the top. And right here, we've got the option called Training Workbooks. You can purchase the downloadable version of those. I think they're very affordable, 12 bucks each, I think. We do try to follow along with the webinars, with our training events as much as we possibly can. It allows you as our Church Windows customer and user to get as kind of a complete training experience without having to upgrade to a different level of training, such as live web training or individual customer training such as that. Today's webinar event is being recorded. We will put the recorded video of today's event here on our support center sometime within the next week or 10 days. I did want to pull up the list right now that we already have a recording of the same exact topic workbooks taken from a webinar presentation done about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, excuse me, right here. Well, less than that. Right here, the accounting chart of accounts cleanup version 17 and newer, A102 pages 15 to 22. Let me kind of grab my highlighter here and show us that right here from accounting workbook pages 102 from December of 2017. It is the same exact topic, folks. It's just called something different. So if you want to revisit this, sooner than later, before the video is released, you can find that there now. Before we get started on our topic here, a few things I want to point out. If you have questions, please type those into the questions portion of our webinar control panel. I'll do my best to keep an eye on those. I'm pretty good at repeating the question for everyone's benefit, and then we'll see what we can do to get those questions answered. Please keep the questions on topic, meaning on our topic at hand here about adding, deleting, or editing accounts. Another webinar event may be more suited for your particular question, or if you have or you're on support, please contact our technical support staff at 800-533-5227. We're here till 6 p.m. Eastern time today. Our technicians will always be delighted to answer your questions for you. Okay? All right. So let's go into accounting. So adding to accounts to your chart of accounts can be done at any time throughout the accounting year. Okay? So sure, there's always a need to add new accounts. Something isn't, we're not meeting the reporting needs that we have for there. So, we need to add, be willing to add or have the ability to add any account at any time throughout the course of the year. And so in accounting, we can do that, certainly. So accounts can be added to the chart of accounts in a couple different ways. One that is commonly overlooked is when we go into our manage accounts and into our chart of accounts itself is from the tree view tab. So when I go to my chart of accounts and I go over here to this tab to the right hand side called tree view right here, okay, there's our tree view tab, my poorly drawn arrow. I'm so sorry, folks. When we click on that, it brings up our chart of accounts, and here are my assets, liabilities, and funds, okay? All of my income and expenses are, of course, linked to one of my funds down here at the bottom. So if I want to, I'll show in a minute here how to add them from the tree view, add income and expenses. But say we want to add a new asset. If I go to my tree view tab, I simply right-click over the assets. It gives me the option to choose add a new asset. It opens up my add a new asset window, and we're going to call this one Hunting. If I could type today, Huntington Bank CD, and then we tab down and we're going to enter an account number of 125100. We're going to choose the subtotal we're going to be adding it to. We're going to call it total current assets and investments. Click OK. It's now added my new asset account to my tree view tab here on the right and to my chart of accounts on the left. Very simple. Now this doesn't put any balances in those accounts. That's a different question or problem. We would need to post a transaction for that. But now we've added that new Huntington Bank CD into our chart of accounts. We can now post the necessary transactions to get that to the balances into that account as needed. Okay. I've also actually added it into the proper subtotal where I want it to go into my reports as well. So when I go to my, say, balance sheet, it's going to now pop into my total current assets and investments subtotal on my reports. Okay. You can always add new accounts to the tree view from the tree view tab at any time. The other way to add accounts to our chart of accounts, of course, is to close out. We're going to go up here to manage accounts at the top left, and then across right below that to the one that says accounts plus minus. And then when those change across the top, we're going to say add a new fund here from, right up here is what I'm talking about. Let me get out my highlighter. We've got assets and accounts receivable, clients and liabilities and vendors and funds and income and expenses. These are the different account types where we can add those. So when I want to add a new fund, we're going to click on the word, the general fund jar icon up there and click fund. It says setting up a new fund. So then once it opens that up, we're going to go ahead and enter our new fund name. We're going to call this Fall Festival Fund. I just can't manage to type in order today here, folks. Sorry. Fund. And then when we tab off that, it adds the word balance to that. We tab down. We then choose, or it's asking us to enter a 300 number, of course, because funds, when we're using account numbers, always start with the number 3. So we're going to label this 327,100. I don't have any other subtotal in my total fund balances that I can, but if I did, I would choose that from the subtotals window, and I'll simply click Add Account. Okay, and now down here in my current list of funds, right here, I've got my Fall Festival Fund. If I was going to have sub-funds added to my Fall Festival Fund, then now is the time to add that. The main or parent fund cannot have any income and expenses or won't have any income and expenses linked to it, so now would be the perfect time for me to add that fund or sub-funds if I were going to, but I'm not. Okay. So then without closing the window, I'm going to simply go right up to the very top and choose income. Notice it still selects my new Fall Festival Fund automatically. I don't have to add or close any windows. It remembers my last account that I've added. So then here now I could go ahead and say, okay, I'm going to add my Fall Festival income account. Tab down, we're going to do 27,100. It starts with the number 4. Here, notice it's got my subtotals in my income. So here, there isn't anything for Fall Festival, but it probably would categorize as total other fund income. So I'm going to choose that and click Add Account. Okay, and notice it is populating over here in my Tree View tab under my Fall Festival Fund automatically on the right. Okay. So as page 17 on our workbook talks about is, if I go back to my Manage Accounts into my chart of accounts, and I go back to my Tree View and I collapse everything down, here is my Fall Festival Fund. So if I right-click over that, now notice it says Add a Fund, Add Income Account for Fall Festival. We're going to choose Add Expense. So here it opens up, and we're going to call this Fall Festival Expense. And we're going to label it 27,100, 527,100. Similarly, allows me to choose the subtotal. Here, so don't really have a subtotal other than maybe my total designated expenses. So I would say Don't have one for Fall Festival, so I'll choose designated expenses, click OK. I have now added the minimum number of accounts to set up a new fund in the chart of accounts. So I've got the fund balance with at least one income and one expense as displayed on my tree view tab on my chart of accounts. Okay. Now again, if I am receiving Fall Festival income through donations, I would have to go over into donations and add that there and link that income account to the cash account where it's being deposited and to the subsequent credit income account. We're not going to cover that today. It's not in the workbook or in our workbook materials. If time warrants at the end, I will go back and revisit that. So again, as we're clearly seeing here, I can add any type of account from either my tree view or from the add accounts. So we're going to go back to the add manage accounts and accounts plus minus. So if I go up to say right here, I've got my accounts payable vendors. So if I click on accounts payable / vendors, let me get my highlighter out here. Right up here at the very top. Oh, that's a better looking arrow. So then when we click on accounts payable vendors, it brings up my ledger accounts for a main ledger for accounts payable. All of my current vendors are listed down here. If I just click in here and I type in Kersey Tea House, okay, and I click Add Account, all right, it adds it down here into my accounts down here, Kersey Tea House. Everybody should see that there, right down here, okay. So I'll also be able to find them right over here on the tree view on the tab. So if I right-click over Kersey and I can choose Edit, it allows me to change that name. So if I had a misspelling or something here and I entered something incorrectly, I can edit that information here. However, as I add information to the chart of accounts window here, maybe I have more information that I want to add about Kersey Tea House. So if I go back here to manage accounts, well, let me get rid of my drawing here. Sorry, folks. And I find Kersey Tea House here. Highlight that. Over here on the right-hand side, notice I've got the tab called Vendor / Payee. That when I click on that, it brings up the tab that allows me to enter additional name, address, phone, email, web address information that I have about Kersey Tea House. Okay? So in much the same manner that we've added our accounts, either using the Tree View tab or using the accounts plus minus in the upper left, I'm on page 19 now of our chart on our workbooks here, accounts can be deleted in very much the same manner. Okay? So if I go to my chart of accounts and I find, let's say I'm here at my chart of accounts and I clear out Kersey Tea House and I type in Thanksgiving. Here's my Thanksgiving offering income account. If I go to my Tree View tab, it's highlighted that same account in the Tree View. If I right-click over it, notice delete. Thanksgiving offering income account is in my list. If there was any audit history in this account in 2019 that was of any concern, delete would not be an option in my list, okay? So there's no beginning balance. Income and expense accounts, of course, don't have beginning balances, but there's no 2019 transactions in this account that I have to be concerned with. If there were, the delete option would not be available here. So if I choose delete, it'll say, ask me to confirm, are you sure you want to delete Thanksgiving offering income? And I click yes, and that will delete that entirely from my 2019 chart of accounts. So I know what some of you may be thinking and may be typing into me is, will that delete that account from any other of my other accounting years? And the answer to that simply is no. The 2019 chart of accounts is separate from other years' charts of accounts. So deleting the account in the current year does not delete that same account from other accounting years, okay? All right. If I choose to delete from the menu buttons, I go up to Accounts Plus Minus here, Manage Accounts in the upper left and Accounts Plus Minus, and say I go to across the top center to Expenses, and I just want to point out here are my it's selected my general fund here at the top, so it's basically looking at the expenses for my general operating fund, and the current accounts that are linked to my general operating fund are listed down here. And we notice that on the left-hand side, we've got the delete column here, okay? So if an account is not eligible for deletion, it'll say NA here, but we clearly see that we've got some that have check boxes, okay? So if I put a check mark in, you know, any one of these accounts, you know, again, there's no audit history, grounds, maintenance. So if I click on that, my now delete selected accounts button is available in the bottom, and I can click on that, and again, it pops up and asks me to click yes to the confirmation box. Do I want to delete grounds and maintenance? And I'll click yes on that, and that'll delete that. I can choose multiple accounts, okay? You know, so if I go down the list here and check those, and it'll click up and pop up and ask me one by one, do I want to delete the accounts? It's just a fail-safe to ensure that we're deleting accounts that we're wanting and trying to make or minimize our mistakes, okay? So we're going to say yes to deleting grounds and maintenance, but then here it is, it's asking us, oh no, I didn't mean to check to delete office expenses. I'm going to click no on that, and it won't delete my office expense. The thing to keep in mind about this, folks, is if I delete an account from the chart of accounts that I didn't want to delete, all I have to do is just add it back to the chart of accounts, okay? Don't overthink it, okay? There is just simply no audit history in the current year that otherwise the system wouldn't permit me to delete it. If I did delete office supplies by mistake, all I would do would be to go back into the add account function and add the expense back to and link it to its proper fund. It's that simple, okay? So deleting accounts similarly as we've seen right here on my setup chart of accounts. Notice, you know, if I'm on my tree view tab here under my chart of, you know, even when I'm adding my accounts, you know, if I go to my, say, you know, income accounts for my general fund, you know, and I right click, notice delete's still in my list. It's still the tree view. So right down here, I like to point out it does have the right click to add, edit, delete accounts in my tree view tab, okay? So lots of ways to do that. And so finally, with just a couple minutes left here, I want to point out edit is something we have not covered yet, okay? So you can right-click over an account here. Let me get rid of my highlighter. And I can edit an account, okay? So I can do that here or back at my chart of accounts. If I go to, say, Senior Citizens, and I go to my tree view tab to the right, and that same account is highlighted, and I right-click and choose Edit, it allows me to change the name, the actual number, or the subtotal that account is linked to, okay? So I click Edit Senior Citizens, it opens this up, and I go, okay, I want to add the word expense to that, and I click OK. Or if I go, oh, I want to change the account number, so I just take off the 0 and add 5 to it and click OK, and it's changed that number, okay? Folks, editing accounts, changing account numbers, editing account names can be done at any time, okay? There's no restriction on when that occurs. The system will tell you when an account number is in use. If you try to change the account number, it won't let us have two accounts in the chart of accounts that have the same name or number, okay? Certainly not within the same account type. All right. So again, the system's really good at that. Don't confuse editing an account with deleting or adding. Okay. Again, its system won't let us delete an account that has audit history that is important and that is trying to hang on to for the current year. But editing an account doesn't necessarily change that audit history. Okay. So by my basically going, okay, I've changed my senior citizens expense to 510,555 from 550. All of the transactions that I would have had, you know, that have been posted to that account or balance that's associated with that, all still follows right along with it. It's just how the number that's associated with that account that's changing, or the name, nothing more.